Warning of the following audio may contain coarse language and other materials that may not be suitable for a younger audience. The opinions expressed in this audio are solely those of the speakers involved. These conversations may contain spoilers for current media such as games, comics, movies, television shows, and more. GrownAGeeks makes no claim to ownership of the various media discussed, simply the opinions expressed. Listener discretion is advised.
Got to figure out how to keep the music in, though. Kind of like the lowrider. Lowrider beat's gonna stay with us. So, welcome. It is Wednesday. We are GrownAGeeks. This is Weigh In Wednesday. You are awesome for being here. I want to thank everybody who's joining me tonight. I am your host, Elder Geek Sam. We have with us one of my favorite movie buffs, Teresa. She's right here joining us. You can catch her, of course, in group making conversation and chatting about all the things that are movie and definitely Marvel. This is Miss Marvel right here. So we will ask her about all the Marvel movies coming up and get her opinions on those things.
Set me up for failure.
Nah, you'll do fine. And of course, joining me, as always, my co-host, Jeffrey, JPNT17, who will probably be known as, what was it?
That's just for house music. It's not. Okay. It's not an all-encompassing thing.
Okay. It wasn't all-encompassing, but you know, he does a little DJing thing on the side. He gets his groove on, gets his mix in with his music. So he's got a whole new DJ name because I can kind of see where you're coming from. JPNT17 doesn't really work for music, but you can definitely check the website.
Not good.
Yeah, be sure to check the website and see all of the artwork. I will continue talking about my very cool and custom Spider-Man shirt that most people don't have, but you should get it because it is available. So we're going to be talking tonight about the upcoming movies of 2024. All of the highly anticipated films I will make it a point to pull from a variety of sources for the upcoming movies. Won't go with my first Google search option because that may have a little bit of a slant, and we need to talk about all of the movies that are coming up. And so there's a lot of movies coming out this year. I'm hoping that they're going to be good. Hey, what's going on? Triforce Hunter and Coin Halo Gaming. Appreciate it. Hope you had an awesome New Year's as well. That is one of our members. He is one of the members. You can actually follow his channel. That's his YouTube there, Triforce Hunter. Check him out. And if you want to be a part of all the other places you can check him out, he's a member in our group, GrownAGeeks. You can actually click that QR code that just popped up in the corner, and that will take you to everywhere you can find us online. So shout out to Triforce for showing some love. But with all of the different movies coming out, of course, most people that kind of get excited about the big summer blockbusters, and cinema has really started to, I believe it started to shift some, and I don't think we're going to see as many of the big spectacle films. I think they will continue to do. I mean, obviously we still have some superhero films coming out. We've got a few Marvel titles, some DC titles, some stuff coming out. So they're not abandoning that by any means. But I think that we're starting to see the rise of not really independent, but some more dramatic works and things of that nature. You're always going to have your Oscar bait. You're always going to have the stuff that comes out that, your art house films and things of that nature. But the summer blockbuster, the action-packed thrillers, the rom-coms, the big comedies, those are the ones that I'm looking forward to. And every once in a while, I'll check out an art house film here at home or something. Or I know Jeff usually catches them on a plane. Teresa, how do you feel about art house films?
It it depends. Like, I mean, I'll have to see like a trailer. It's possible for a trailer to just catch me. So, like, if I've been going to the movies a lot lately. If I happen to catch a trailer, before another feature, yeah, it's possible. But otherwise, I'm more of a like, big name kind of movie person.
Going for the big blockbusters as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, they obviously they make it. They make the movies for people to go see them. Do you have a specific genre that you prefer?
Yes, I am. I always, just because for so long, like since I was very young, I've loved horror movies. So horror is always the first thing that comes to my mind. But as I have gotten older, my tolerance has lowered a bit.
Okay.
I've become a bit of a chicken. And now that my sister has moved out of town, I don't have anybody to go see horror movies with.
Okay.
So I don't see as many as I used to, but I do love a good horror movie. Fantasy, sci-fi. Fantasy is really probably my top, with that including the superhero Marvel movies.
Okay. Jeff, what about you? Do you have a specific preference in genre?
I really like. I like superhero movies, obviously, as part of GrownAGeeks. I like some sci-fi. Really depends. I think sci-fi has a lot of subgenres in it. So like I'm not a big horror movie fan. So if it's anything about like Aliens, Alien, great movie. We don't need to ever watch it again because I've made it to the other side of the nightmares that movie gave me as a child.
Okay.
I like comedies a lot. I like my coming of age movies. I like rom-coms and I like musicals a lot. So I like a lot of stuff, but I'll say comedy is probably my biggest one.
Okay.
And comedy, not like humor.
Because there is a difference.
There is.
Yes, there is a difference. And I would have to say, for me personally, I am all about the action. I want to see everything go boom. I want to see explosions on the screen. I want the surround sound to shake my chair. And I don't care what genre it falls under, as long as it qualifies as action. So fantasy action, sci-fi action, superhero comic book action. And if you can mix in some humor, I love it. So something like Deadpool is right up my alley because it gives me all of it. You know what I'm saying? You got mutants, so there's a little bit of sci-fi. Aliens, that gets thrown in the mix. Then it's just in the superhero genre. Same with like your Superman movies and things of that nature because it kind of encompasses all of it. But I am absolutely down for a Lord of the Rings type quest film at any point. You give me some dragons, some knights, and some swords and shields, I'm there. That probably comes from growing up on role-playing games, tabletop, D&D, things of that nature. So that fantasy, that true fantasy element, that medieval fantasy, that's right there for me as well.
Now I will say, and it's like GrownAGeeks is a multicultural group.
Yes,
we welcome people from all races, walks of life. But for me, if ain't no black people, I probably ain't gonna be there because you just gonna have a hard time explaining to me why it ain't none. Like I don't want to hear, oh well, the Lord of the Rings, it's all fake. It's right. Elves and golems and all somebody.
As times have progressed, they are trying to do better. The Rings of Power show, they did a little bit better. They tried to sprinkle some stuff in, and I think they did it in a way that it wasn't just like, hey, look, we got black folks. So, kudos to them for that. They just kind of, you'd look up and there'd be two people in the background. one of the main characters in the story was the elf, the wife of the dwarf main character. You know, so they sprinkled in with enough vigor to make it relevant and important, but not in a way that felt like it was pandering. Like, oh, let's make sure that they're on screen, everybody can see it. It did feel a little bit more natural, but yeah, you go back and you watch the original trilogy. Uh, no matter which version, it could be the extended version, the collector's 6-hour double set, whatever. Yeah, it could look a little interesting, look a little strange.
I mean, that's somebody's fantasy, and it's cool, but I'm just not gonna be on that ride with you. So, you know, enjoy that world that looks a lot like how maybe some folks wish this one looked. But for me, I just need it personally.
Gotcha. So let me see. I'm trying to get this one little thing popped up. I was going to put the chat in over here for Twitch, but we'll deal with that later. So first off, are there any? What is the movie that you are most looking forward to? We'll go through a couple of them, some big titles, some ones that just really look good. We'll cover it in that fashion. So we'll start with your most anticipated. Which one are you looking forward to in 2024? Mine is a very simple and obvious one, so I'll go last just to save the time and trouble.
Well, for me, I mean, you're gonna have to call some names because the way my memory is set up, I don't know what's supposed to be coming out.
I got you. No. I mean, because it's a lot of movies and it's hard to keep up with everything, but it would almost kind of go down with like a yay or nay. But some of the and we can kind of go in order by release. Like coming up, is it this week? I think this week is Book of Clarence with Lakeith Stanfield, and I'm having a hard time telling exactly what it's about.
Right.
But I feel like I still want to see it. Just because it's Lakeith Stanfield, it feels like it's going to be some very interesting spin on, you know, the traditional like biblical movies that used to be like your Ben-Hurs and your Life of Brian's and, you know, Passion of the Christ and Greatest Story Ever Told. I mean, there's just so like of those.
So like what I understand it to be is like, so like if you, I mean, I don't know who is a believer of the faith, whatever, but just from the historical sense, like Jesus was not the only person who ever was like, I'm the Son of God, follow me, I'm the Messiah, I'm the chosen one. And in Jesus's time, there were other people who were doing their own versions of that as well. And so this movie is about a person who basically like sees Jesus preaching and teaching and is like, I'm gonna hop on that too.
That looks like that's working.
It seems like it's a comedy, I'm assuming, but it's like, I don't know what kind of comedy it is. It feels from the trailer very like, well, I forget their name. They did Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they do all the movies like that. The brothers.
Somebody's brothers, Cohen.
The Cohen brothers. It feels kind of like a Black Cohen brothers type film in tone, at least from what I see from the trailer. I'm interested in it. I don't know if it's going to get me into a theater per se, but you know, when it shows up on Max or Amazon or Hulu or whatever, I'll definitely be checking it out at some point in time. And that's just because at this point, like, I mean, I got a 6-year-old, so like, it ain't that easy for me to just pop out to the movies. And if I do, it's like Ninja Turtles or something I can take him to see. So a lot of these in terms of going to the movies to see them, like there are some I'm excited to see, but there's a few where it's like, I need to see this on the big screen. Like whenever the next Fast and the Furious movie comes out, I will be there in the theater for that. But that's
Fast
just because I need to see that big. I need to see it big.
Wow.
I got to see the car crash is big.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't know anybody still cared.
Oh,
I
very
mean,
much so.
it's not like the Marvel movies for me per se, but it is one of those things where it's like watching it on a plain screen, watching it on your home, even if you got like a 70-inch TV, it's still like that much more of a spectacle, like on the big screen. It's the kind of movie where maybe it doesn't have the plot and the writing and the acting that one might deem worthy of like carving out time, but in terms of like getting your money's worth of like what you're seeing on the big screen,
Yeah.
I would definitely say since the fifth one, they've all pretty much delivered on that like theatrical factor for me.
Once they became super spies, the action just went through the roof after that. Now,
because basically they're like procedurals. It's like you come in and it's like you got your race, you figure out where everybody is in the family. The secret agent walks in, it's like I have a mission. They go on the mission, people get locked up, whatever. You have your fight scenes, your car chases, and then you have your big set piece at the end that's like, what are they going to blow up? How much stuff? How many cars are they going to crash? And
every
then
one of them
come back and do it all over again.
It either feels like a big heist movie, or
Yeah.
it feels like a big spy thriller, much like your James Bonds or something like that, where they have to stop the destruction of the end of the world type stuff. So, I mean, it's definitely formula. You know, it's got that formula in place, and I enjoy them as well. So, have you watched any of the Fast and Furious, Teresa?
I've watched maybe like 4.5.
Okay. See, and I could understand why you might be a little like questioning.
Yeah.
You get
If
to
you
5.
if you watch the first 4, you got off the ride like one stop too early.
Yeah.
But
So,
I get why you got off. I get why you got off.
Like I said, and that's why I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
And
I'll
I'm
say
estimating that it was number 5 that I fell asleep on and just couldn't even try to go
didn't
back.
go back to it. Well, you know what? At some point, if you just find yourself with some free time and you can like put it on in the background, maybe it'll make you look over more times than you think, and you just try Fast 5 again. Give that one a shot. Side note: Book of Clarence is directed by, I believe it was actually written and directed by James Samuel, who also did The Harder They Fall. And I really liked that movie. And we're going to avoid today the separate tie-in to the cast of The Harder They Fall.
Yeah.
We're not going to get back into anything
Martin
he had
himself.
to say. But Lakeith Stanfield, you know, yeah, Mr. Martin. Lakeith Stanfield was in Harder They Fall, and I actually liked his character in that one. More of a bad guy, but you know that had an all-star cast, so it was hard for anybody to truly stand out because everybody I felt was really good. Cuffy and Beckworth were probably my 2 favorite characters. Cuffy being you know what, we'll talk about that movie another day. But The Harder They Fall was directed by James Samuel, and this new one, The Book of Clarence, directed by James Samuel. So to me, it's worthwhile. He's given me something good in the past, so I figure it's worth giving it a shot, and I'm curious to see this one as well. Anybody interested in the Mean Girls reboot?
Yes.
No.
It's not a reboot.
Not a reboot.
It's a musical.
Right.
So the same way they did
Oh,
Color Purple,
Yep.
where they did a stage show that was a musical, and now they did a movie of the stage show. Mean Girls was a Broadway musical, and they're doing a movie version of the Broadway musical.
Gotcha. Well, that makes it all different. And now I can probably convince the wife she likes musicals. So just based on that, she'll probably jump in. So did Mean Girls start off as a musical and the first Mean Girls movie?
No,
so they did the movie.
The first Mean Girls was just a comedy written by Tina Fey.
Tina Fey, right?
I think it was her first movie. came out, I want to say 2004.
Correct.
And then they created a musical after the like cult success of
Right.
the original movie.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then the movie, I guess they, I don't know. It feels, to me, it's one of those things where it's like, I love musicals, but I don't know if we need a movie musical about the play musical about a movie. It's like you're the dude playing the dude that's the other dude.
Disguised as another dude.
Yeah. And it's like, it becomes like,
it's movie section.
cyclical. Except, and the only way I would really like accept something like that is if it was like you really made like the musical really made the original better. I don't know. I didn't see the Broadway musical, but I want to say they did the same thing with Legally Blonde. I don't know if they did a movie. They haven't done a movie of the musical Legally Blonde, but there is a Broadway musical of the movie Legally Blonde that came out after the movie came out. And it just feels like we could be doing some different things. Like there were sequels to the original Mean Girls movie, but I think it was kind of on some like bring it on straight to DVD type stuff. Like, and not to say this in a creepy way, but like high school genre movies, that's like my thing. TV shows about high school. I just find it like an interesting microcosm. I like how people's different takes on high school. You know, they call it our formative years for a reason. High school seems to be the time of life that forms how a lot of people then enter and move through the world for the rest of their lives, unfortunately, sometimes. So I'm just very interested in like social commentary about that phase of life, especially because like my wife was a high school teacher for a while. Me and her both were like church high school youth leaders. So we worked with high school kids for a long time when we were out in California. And I think teenagers get a bad rap. And I'm just very interested sometimes in like what adults think about teenagers and how often off base they are. And I think movies like Mean Girls, the original, are refreshing because that pretty much hit the nail on the head. Like Mean Girls was not a high school show or high school movie that high schoolers didn't like. And so they saw themselves in that movie. A lot of high schoolers of all cultures and walks of life, but I think especially white girls. Like I was going to a very white college when that movie came out, and it was accurate to how a lot of people was like moving. And a lot of the girls I went to school with loved that movie because they identify with some of those characters, some of those experiences. And
I mean, I think to some degree, everybody can identify people they went to school with who are at least one of the cast members.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And even if you go as far back and well, this is dating me, but you go back as far as Clueless, and even if you didn't go to a Valley high school, you still recognize the different cliques that were there in that school. And when we watch Riverdale, Dawson's Creek, any one of these, like you said, these coming of age stories, you may not be able to specifically relate to this character or that character, but there's somebody on the show that you're familiar with. And so I can see how that would definitely be enticing. And I find that I tend to watch them all, and all the ones that came out back in the day, Can't Hardly Wait, and that whole little slew of movies that was just the thing. Idle Hands. I thought we were getting like a new Brat Pack was starting, but that didn't happen. But even there, the Faculty, I was about to say, but even there, if you go all the way back to The Breakfast Club, same thing. It's the high school students, The Outsiders. The list goes on. Hell, Grease. You know what I'm saying? Like it is something about the high school dynamic that is just unique and interesting. Yeah, like exactly. Revenge of the Nerds, Porky's, absolutely right. It's a fascinating time, and I think it is because it's when we are seeing people change. We're seeing people discover new things and things for the first time. We've all hell, you get to
Well,
a certain age, you experience puberty. So that's going to be relatable for everybody in some degree.
well, and I think it's also like this thing where it's like if you read certain studies, they talk about how like the concept of the teenager is like, I mean, it's less than 100 years old. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
100 years ago, you were 12 and then you had a job. You were
Right?
like 13,
Coming home
14,
from
then
the
you had
coal
a
mines.
family. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Especially if you
Hmm.
were a young lady, you was 14 and in
Being
certain
married off.
unfortunate circumstances, yeah, you was being given away, unfortunately. Um, and so this concept of like being in this phase of life where your body is changing, your hormones are going crazy, like, and then you have like a generation of people who are alive who did not go through that because they were in the generation who like just went from childhood to adulthood, creates an interesting dynamic, I think, in society. And like the movies kind of, I think, have done a good job of illustrating how that went at different points in society, right? Like when you look at a movie like from the 80s, like a Breakfast Club, it's like these kids are grown, like they're kids, but like the way they move and talk to each other and the way they like they are kind of grown. And I mean, they were like grown in real life, but like if that's how teenagers were back then, and it's like when I look at like my parents, who my parents were kind of around that age because my mom had me young and my grandmother had my mom young, and so I'm they're more in that like kind of growing up in the like 70s and 80s. It's like, yeah, like when they tell me stories about what they did and how they used to move around and all that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, y'all are basically like grown. Like y'all went to school, but like after school, y'all was
Yeah.
doing whatever y'all wanted to do essentially just because y'all could, and because
Was
y'all's
locked out till
parents
dark. That's where
essentially,
those jokes
right?
come from. Like you locked out till dark, you drink from the hose, all those kind of jokes. There's a lot of truth in that. And there's a whole, I would say Gen X for the most part is like a complete generation of latchkey kids.
Yes.
There's a handful, obviously, who were, their family dynamic was one that maybe the father worked and the mom was a stay-at-home mom kind of thing. There were a few in my neighborhood. Um, but for the most part, yeah, it was a collection of latchkey kids. There was no parental supervision between 3:30 and 5 o'clock. So we were free to do whatever. And as a result, yeah, a lot of people grew up really fast. A lot. That's
Yeah.
why your Gen Xers seem very knowledgeable because we know we seen some shit.
Yeah.
We know some stuff. Um, yeah, I would say that is an interesting take though, as far as how the concept of a teenager being new. Like I don't know, because it just seems like it's as long as I can remember, teenager's been a thing, and you know, we were talking about milestone birthdays the other day, and somebody was like, "Oh yeah, it's like 18." I was like, "No, no, 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 no. First, when you're 10, because you hit double digits. 13 because you become a teenager. 16 because you're 16 now you can drive. Although I think that's changed in the last few years. 18 because now you're 18. Then 21. Then after 21, it's 25." And then it's 29, 30, and then it kind of
And
goes
then
every
it's
10
all
years.
downhill from
Yeah,
there.
look, then it goes every 10 years, You just kind of like then you just start
Start
hitting the
lying.
hashes, right? Just start hitting the hash marks. You're not doing every one. Um, so yeah, I'm like, now that I know it's a musical, Jeff has like converted me slightly onto musicals.
And I'll say this:
So
the girl who is playing Regina George, her name is Renee Rapp. She can sing. Like,
yeah,
she can like sing. Like
yeah,
like black people agree she can sing.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you are not familiar with her, if you have ever watched the show on Max, um, Secret Life of the Sex Life of College Girls, which is a not Tina Fey, Mindy Kaling. She created that show, but it's about four girls who live together at this like really like rich. It's basically like a Harvard type school, and it's like they come in as freshmen. It's all about like them navigating being like freshman girls all alone on their own for the first time out in the world and experiencing love, sex, and relationships. So I recommend that show, but she is on that show. She's very good on that show, but she can also really, really sing. So you don't have to worry about the singing being bad, like in La La Land.
Well, they just forced it.
So bad.
Here's a run through a couple of them. If there's one that catches your eye or gets your attention, let me know. Because we're only in February now. Madam Web is the new.
All right,
Dakota Johnson.
let me talk about this.
Okay.
Every single thing about this looks bootleg and low budget down to the posters. I do not understand, outside of a cash grab, why any actor is being talked into latching themselves onto the Sony real life Spider-Man with no Spider-Man Spider-Verse.
This villain verse they're trying to create.
I don't understand. Like, how are you going? Like, are they being lied to and being told like, well, no, we gonna trust me, like we gonna be in the MCU or like what are you not getting about this? Like, we did not care. Like, people saw Venom because it was Venom. We tried to give it a chance. Nobody cared about Carnage. Nobody's talking about that movie anymore. Now, they've somewhat brought Tom what's his name, over into the MCU because he had his appearance in the last Spider-Man movie.
Oh, Tom Hardy.
Yeah. But we not been like, it's almost like they're trying to do all the characters in the Sony verse so that if they have to do them in the MCU eventually, they'll have to like bring them over, because then people will be like, man, Dakota Fanning was already Madam Web, so like we not really respecting nobody else who y'all try to bring in.
That only works if it's a great movie. That only works if it's a great movie, because nobody's asking for Mobius to be in the MCU. I don't even think
we forget we have Men in Black little machine
Exactly.
that thing away out of our own existence.
Exactly.
And I feel bad because it's like, not only is it Madam Web, but it's 3 other women Spider-Man characters that are being basically like shoehorned. It's basically Spider-Man meets the Marvels. And so you already know people already hate you because you're not the real MCU Spider-Man stuff. Now you're going to just give them more ammunition, because we know a lot of these people also hate women, like, and are going to just go in arms folded just because it's a bunch of women and they're going to be talking about, where's Spider-Man? I don't understand how this is greenlit. Like, and I think it's like, when you think about the amount of money that it takes to get a movie greenlit and the amount of stories that go untold, the amount of movies that get, canned and sit on the sideline for so long, and you guys are still trying this.
It's so funny because the first thing that came to mind was 30,000 movie scripts a year come across the desk. And you didn't want to be in none of them, like that. So
it's truly mind-boggling to me, because
it is without a
I don't
doubt
want to hear nobody talking about the MCU is dead,
Right.
when they still making this.
Yeah.
Like, the MCU actually had a few quality products. They wasn't hitting home run after home run after home run, but nobody stays hot like that forever.
I mean, they still got the highest batting average, without a doubt.
Right.
Exactly.
They're still making the All-Star game every season.
It's like when Jordan went to the Wizards, he was still averaging over 20 points a game. So like,
right. He was still,
but he just
Jordan.
wasn't Michael Jordan no more. Right. But that's fine, because he's still better than a lot of the bums he was playing with in the league at that time.
There you go.
So, but this not no kind of Michael Jordan.
Yeah. This looks like it needs to go into the overseas league, and it could very well just be that they are simply trying to do what Sony has always done, what Fox has always done, make a movie to keep the rights. Because I mean, nobody asked for a Craven movie, Craven the Hunter.
And I think even fewer people are going to be asking for it after they see it. Because I've seen the trailers and it looks horrible.
Because I'll say this about, I think, the character of Spider-Man. He has probably the best rogues gallery in Marvel, but they all only really matter in relation to Spider-Man himself. It only matters because they are facing their greatest foe, and inside there's a 16-year-old boy whooping their ass every week, and they just don't know that. When you take Craven, the story of how Craven becomes Craven is a 5-minute montage in the Spider-Man movie where he fights Craven, where Craven may not even need to be the main villain. He could just be part of 2 or 3 villains. That's how.
I mean,
I wanted him to be the main villain in like the first Spider-Man movie because I thought he would be dope. Like the Craven that's on one of the cartoons is cool because they've updated him to be like he's like basically like crocodile hunter type dude, like where he has like a show. He's got these drones that follow him like on his hunts when he hunts animals, and so his encounters with Spider-Man are all about him trying to basically get views on his YouTube channel,
get his celebrity up.
That makes sense in the MCU where we have Spider-Man,
and that might have even worked given the whole backstory with Mysterio and everything.
Yeah,
could have incorporated it real well with that. Could have been the guy that Mysterio hired on. There's a lot of ways it could be done, and Lord knows if we sat here and thought about it, we could rewrite that and make it work. Here's one, Teresa. Tell me if you know this one, and are you interested at all? March 22nd, the American Society of Magical Negroes. The collective sigh.
I'm gonna go after you.
Okay.
And let me read this one part before you speak.
Okay.
In this, and I have trouble with it. This film is satire, but in this film, Justice Smith stars as Aaron, a young black man who is recruited to be a part of the secret society of magical black people who derive their power from the act of making white people's lives easier.
Okay. Now, apparently that's a thing. That's a trope. The magical Negro is the one in the movie.
Legend of Bagger Vance.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. But of course, one of my Facebook friends was lovely enough to go on this rant about how stupid everybody is because they don't know this trope. And, they were surprised with what the actual context of the movie was. So here I am going, okay, well, call me stupid because I am a Potterhead. So I hear magical Negroes and I'm thinking Black
Hogwarts. Black Hogwarts.
Right. And that's not what it is.
Nah.
So aside from coming down off of that disappointment, and I guess now I'm supposed to be okay with the fact that it's satire and what I'm not okay with that. I don't care anymore. I 100% don't care anymore.
Have completely lost interest now.
Right. And it's especially okay. Especially
collective side. No, I'm with you.
It's satire and we're playing off the idea of the magical Negro or whatever, but okay, they're magical Negroes and they have this purpose to go in and make the white people's lives easier, but the main character, black guy, the movie is about him pining for this white woman. On top of the fact that there are no magic wands and flying brooms, I have this white woman being the ultimate goal, the ultimate
He gonna fuck it
prize.
all up for her.
Prize. Right, exactly. So I am 200% not interested now.
It would be different for me when I first heard that. Immediately, I was like, "Who's putting magical Negro in the title of their movie in 2024?" And then I went and did a little bit of research and found the writer, the
Yeah.
director,
Yeah.
and I was no longer shocked.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how this movie could have been made, and it would have worked if Key and Peele had made this movie.
Yeah.
Because they did a skit, and it was like a battle of two magical Negroes. It's a ridiculous skit from the show Key and Peele. I forget which season, but I mean, they literally they hopped on every trope. And I mean, if you take your characters like your Bagger Vance, you take John Coffey from Green Mile, and the list just goes on and on and on, and it's like there's a way that you can do it and it not be so like you just want to like scrunch your face up. There's a way to do it. And if it was going to be satire, okay, it needs to also be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a little concerned about this because I don't have the most confidence. I've tried to go, and this guy's name, Kobe Leby, I believe is how it's pronounced,
Mm-hmm.
From Fort Wayne, Indiana. He was a cast member on The Opposition with Jordan Klepper, a satire news television series. It was on Comedy Central. I never saw it. And that's about all I know about him. And that's not enough to make me like automatically give it a pass and think like, oh yeah, this should be good. So I am not at all interested in the movie. And I hate it too, because David Allen Greer's in it. And I would want to watch it just because he's in it.
It's got some good people in it. But I mean, I can't even make that want to make me see it. And David Allen Greer's been, hitting some home runs lately.
Did you see Candy Cane?
Yes, I did.
I thought that was great casting. It was perfect.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff. I know you got thoughts.
What I'm at this point I'm waiting for is the twist to be revealed after the movie comes out that makes Black people be like, okay, it wasn't what we thought. Because you talking about sketches, right? I'll point people to another sketch. The show Astronomy Club that was on Netflix did a sketch about magical Negroes. But what they did was it was a rehabilitation center where they had like all these magical Negroes from different movies. And they were in a rehabilitation center teaching them not to use their powers to just help white people. Because the trope of the magical Negro, yes, that's out there and it exists and it's very real. But that was a trope created by white people as a allegory for what a lot of them saw our role in society to be at that time, which was basically to serve white people. If you think about the first Black people who were brought to America, that's what we were brought here for. That's what the purpose that I'm not gonna get into the crazy history lesson right now. Y'all read the books, y'all heard about the Civil War and all that.
The Mammies and the Uncle Remuses of the world.
Exactly. And so when you are talking about this trope, yes, it exists, but what does it exist to do? What does it exist to reinforce? Now, if you are Black and you're making a satire of this, what part of it are you satirizing? Like in the Astronomy Club sketch, and in basically it's like, if you were magical, why is that what you would use your powers to do? Why are you black and you got magic that can make people's lives comfortable, and you use it to make the people's lives comfortable who are the most comfortable on this planet already.
Right.
Like, the logic is flawed. So I understand, okay, that as the premise. But the thing that makes you shake it all up is you fell in love with the white girl that your client was supposed to fall in love with, and you ready to risk it all for her. Now, this is not an indictment of interracial relationships. People fall in love with who they fall in love with. That's cool. But just make a movie about you being a black. Like, you could have been just like, I'm a hedge fund manager, and I'm supposed to be managing the money of this dude, and I fell in love with her fiance, and like, we falling in love. But if I do this, it's gonna mess up the money, and my company's gonna go over. Cool. Leave the rest of us Negroes out of it. Let that be your
Right.
little one-on-one love story. But that doesn't have to be the crux of
A story about magical
that's supposed to be about everybody. Because if we were truly going to be talking about fantasy, if I'm making a story about magical black people, that's the last thing they would be using their powers to do. We have done enough of that in this country, on this planet, for many lifetimes. I don't need it played out. And when you do your research about the director / writer, when you see the family that he comes from, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at Hollywood. Again, going back to what gets greenlit, there's 33,000 scripts that come across the desks of Hollywood every day. And this is the magic. Like, you think this is the only Magic Negroes movie out there?
Right.
You think this is the first magical Negro script out there that's coming from the angle of satirizing it, that's coming from the angle of like having a society of magical Negroes? I doubt it. But this is the one that got greenlit. Why? I would say The Help, yes. Driving Miss Daisy, yes. The Butler, yes. Legend of Bagger Vance, yes. Like, the list goes on and on and on.
Do the same thing in what way? Have
I would
magic
say,
Negroes?
yeah, it's about the power of the story comes from the black people in the film, but the story is still filtered through
Right.
white people.
The white savior.
And the only agency that the black people have is, all they do is listen to the movie, The Help, Driving Miss Daisy,
Right.
The Butler.
Yeah.
What do those people do? What are those jobs?
And it's kind of like a slap in the face of the people who, it's like, okay, y'all want to complain that there are no black people in the movies. We're going to put some black people in the movie. But they're just going to make our lives.
Here are the roles you can take.
Right.
It's basically like taking the role Gone with the Wind, first movie that won a black woman an Oscar. Oh, so you want black people to star in the movie? Okay, you're going to play the same role. You'll just be the star. But you're not going to be Scarlett O'Hara.
Right.
Or whatever the black version of that win. Is. Even though there are plenty of black socialites that have been like that part of society, black society in America is a very, very rich society and has very rich history and very interesting stories. But all you're going to get is Diane Carroll on Dynasty. Mm-hmm. Now, she did slap that white lady. And I'm with that. I'm like, hey, but not just because she was a white lady, but it's like people were slapping each other in that show. So people get to slap each other, and Diane Carroll need to slap somebody
right,
too.
She needs to get
otherwise, don't nobody get to slap nobody. So it's just like, I think when you look at those films, when you look at this film in particular, all the black Harry Potter fans out there, and nobody was just like, what if we just make it a black Harry Potter? Who cares if people gonna be mad like this? Just a black Harry Potter, and
that would have been fine, and it would have done well, and the casting could have been the same.
Yes,
and even if they wanted to have the same triangle love story element in there, would have been okay with it being if the basis of the movie was just magic, and it could have been what is a Hogwarts historically black college or university. It could have been HBCU for magic. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And it would have been fine. And some of those students could probably transfer in or transfer to Hogwarts back and forth, whatever the case may be. Could have worked, could have been done. And again, just Key and Peele, they had a whole skit. The inner city, like they did what, of course, it was like the inner city magic school. So instead of it being like Hogwarts was like the private school, this was like the public school
For the public
magic.
school, yeah.
And so and it was a hilarious skit. And again, the premise is there, and it could have been stretched out. It could have been done a different way. So I think that's an interesting one. And the fact that it keeps popping up on these lists of most anticipated, I'm like, who?
Yeah,
Right.
white people excited to see this.
Yeah.
What? That doesn't.
Rolling Stone, and I say that because the creator of Rolling Stone just got called out a few months ago for basically saying like he wrote a book about like masters and didn't include no black artists and didn't include no women because he didn't think that they were intellectually complex as artists. So like this is the publication that spawns from this man. When you look over the years, you look at Rolling Stone covers. Michael Jackson, the biggest artist ever in the history of the world, he has 2 Rolling Stone covers. And I dare you to Google them. We talked about this on the show. Google the Michael Jackson covers, and one of them might shock you with the coonishness of it.
Yeah.
So you look at a publication like this, of course they're excited. And they're going to walk around and they're going to go to their black friend and be like, what'd you think?
Did you see this? There's a couple other movies that are coming that actually I am a little bit more interested in. Because I don't want to strike any nerves.
Get the Ghostbusters. Let's go ahead and get the Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. That was one that, now, oddly enough, I saw the original sequel. I saw the remake. I have not seen the reboot.
Afterlife was good.
I've heard good things about it.
I think Afterlife. Okay, so this is what I'll say. The sequel, the women Ghostbusters, I thought that was a funny movie. I think that they were leaning very heavily on the funny, and it felt a little probably more slapstick than like the original one.
Yeah. Afterlife. But I always get that from Kristen Wiig, though. That's how she operates.
Yeah. She gets on my nerves for that very reason.
But like if you're a Ghostbusters fan and you want to go in and you want to see Ghostbusters, that might not be the tone that you necessarily were expecting. That doesn't make it a bad movie, but it's just the tone might be different from what you're expecting. And I think that if people have made that criticism versus the like, women, like
it would have been. It's a valid complaint, and it's a valid recognition of where it may have fallen flat and where it fell short, as opposed to hating it for the sake, like, women can't be Ghostbusters, and
I think part of that too was like sometimes some of those things tend to lean more heavily into it because of the whole women aren't funny. So it's like, women aren't funny. Okay, we got to make this extra funny because if we don't, they're going to be like, women aren't funny.
Right.
So, but that doesn't even matter. The movie exists. There's not going to be no sequels to it. It is what it is. Go watch it if you want to. But
I laughed.
Afterlife, I think Afterlife had the heart that really was needed to really kind of reboot it. Like, it wasn't scary, but it had the right amount of paranormal. It had the right amount of like humor.
Okay.
It was a little more like, it was teens. So, right up my alley. But I think the humor aspect of it, of like, there's this paranormal thing happening. Only the kids know, the adults aren't believing it. And then, I definitely would recommend seeing it because I don't even want to like talk about the ending of it because I think not knowing the ending as a Ghostbusters fan the ending is a lot better if you just go into it not knowing like what's going to happen. But and I think also just like the fact that it did, I think, a good job of paying homage to Harold Ramis and making sure kind of like his spirit lives on. Now, what I will say is I hope that they can finally do a better job and do some more justice to Ernie Hudson. Anybody who doesn't understand what's going on there, basically in the original Ghostbusters, Eddie Murphy was supposed to play the Black Ghostbuster. And when Eddie Murphy dropped out, and yes, Winston Zedmore, when Eddie Murphy dropped out, Ernie Hudson was brought in, and the script was basically his role was like dwindled down. He went from like a military munitions expert to a fireman who needed a job. You know what I mean? Less lines, and you know, in the original poster, he's not on it. When I worked at Mad Engine and we had the Ghostbusters license, there's Ghostbusters like style guide materials that come in, and he's not on it. People would just put the post. I would always go to people whenever they design a Ghostbusters shirt and they use one of those materials. I'd be like, put Winston on here, because if you don't, it's going to be a problem. And lo and behold, somebody from another department sold a shirt to Old Navy, a Ghostbusters shirt, no Winston. They got a whole bunch of letters. I got called into the office like, why did y'all do this? I was like, it wasn't me. I would never let a Ghostbusters design walk out of this building without Winston on it.
Yeah.
He's the one that figured out that the slime responds to Jackie Wilson.
Yeah.
He was up on that building shooting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man crossing the streams too. I'm not leaving him out.
Absolutely.
It's as much a Ghostbuster as anybody else. And the original Ghostbusters is one of my favorite movies of all time. Partly because of the humor. And we made the the distinction earlier between humor and comedy. It wasn't really like slapstick comedy. It was more humor. Love Bill Murray. You know, and it's just one of my favorite movies of all times. I mean, it combined the horror element. Like Jeff said, it's not really scary, but you know, you've got that spooky element anyway. And the horror, the comedy, more educated to me comedy. And I mean, it was a perfect balance. It's one of my favorite movies. I agree 100% with what Jeff said also about the remake with the ladies. I think they tried to be too funny. Once again, Kristen Wiig gets on my nerves because she's on that slapstick side.
I think Leslie Jones and
I love Leslie Jones, Melissa McCarthy.
It wasn't Melissa, it was the fourth one. Because not Kristen Wiig, but Leslie Jones and the one from Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, she played Weird Barbie.
Yeah. Those two, they made the movie, and Chris Hemsworth. The three of them made that movie.
If Chris Hemsworth, if his character had been quiet more, I would have been okay. But see, his character was stupid to me. It was pretty, but I mean, it crossed the line to stupidity, in my opinion. And if
the fact that the character was actually a moron, just added to that element.
A moron. I mean, he was like special.
Which way is up, moron? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They went a little overboard with that, but it was also, you know, like I think the idea there was to kind of try to put it on equal footing and like, you know, well, normally, we're just going to hire the secretary because she's pretty. She doesn't have to do anything but answer phones.
Right, but like Annie Potts wasn't stupid in Ghostbusters.
Right.
Not at all.
He was an integral member of the team as well.
And for, like you said, just tying into the idea of them going overboard with the comedy element, they were like, okay, let's take all the things that would normally be a problem, flip them, and that will make it funny like that.
He couldn't even answer the phone.
Yeah, he was a moron in that. Argyle is another movie that's coming out that I'm kind of interested in myself. This will be probably the first return to screen, I think, for Henry Cavill because they just keep cutting his roles. But Agent Argyle. Well, the name of the movie is Argyle. It's Bryce Dallas Howard. She is a writer. She's writing the story, this story about a super spy named Argyle. And then they come to find out, like, apparently Argyle is a real person. And he really is a super spy. I'm definitely interested in seeing Sam Rockwell, Samuel L. Jackson, Catherine O'Hara, John Cena. I just want to see Henry Cavill do something. You know, I want him back on the screen. I think he's an interesting actor, and especially for roles like this, something akin to a. I don't want to see him as James Bond, but I liked seeing him in
The Man from Uncle.
The Man from Uncle. I think that worked. Army Hammer's horrible Russian accent was the other half of that. So if you give him someone like a John Cena who's kind of getting there, but then of course you have a few people, Bryan Cranston, Samuel L. Jackson. You know, you put some vets around him, we can really see him like step up because everything he's done in Witcher was fantastic. So, you know, granted, he didn't have a lot of lines, but when he did, they worked. It was usually like, you know, a couple of cuss words and some grunts, but any other time he spoke, it worked. So Argyle's an action movie, probably an action comedy. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. My biggest concern with that is like I hope they don't do too much of the like. You know how like Bryce Dallas Howard was in the first Jurassic Park she was in, where it was like once the dinosaurs came out, she's just like, oh, and it seems like a lot of that. And it's like I feel like between that and between her episode of Black Mirror, I think people are kind of trying to put her in that mode.
Squeaky high pitched voice mode.
Hopefully she does get to that point where it's like, all right, now I'm like kicking ass. But it's feeling very like damsel in distress, but like I'm also like don't know I'm pretty, but it's like I don't want
to. My biggest concern is that the movie's going to be not quite a ripoff, but the movie with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum that came out not too long ago.
Oh, the Lost Kingdom,
Lost City, yeah,
Lost City, yeah.
It's similar premise. You know, she's this author. She writes this story talking about this secret location. Bad guy comes in, kidnaps her because he wants the rest of the clues. She explains she's just been making this story up, only to find out that no, everything she said has been on the money. And then lo and behold, we get to the end. Haha. Like you said, she wasn't. She was the exact opposite of what you just described for Bryce Dallas Howard's characters have been. And of course, it's Sandra Bullock. She's done that time where she's had the high pitched squeaky voice, and now she can just get out there and act and be Sandra. And I hope that the movie kind of goes that way as well. But, you know, I'm more interested in seeing what they do with the spy element. And if we find out that this thing that she imagined turned out to be real, how was she getting that information and writing these accurate portrayals? So maybe she's a sleeper agent and you know, we get some long kiss goodnight thrown in there. I could see I don't want them to do anything else with Jason Bourne. The Jason Bourne movies are
Jason Bourne is a soft spot for Sam.
Yeah, that
Sam is the original creator of Jason Bourne.
That makes me a little itchy when I talk about that. But Project Greenlight, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, I submitted an idea. Of course, the idea was to do the Bourne Identity. I had seen the original Richard Chamberlain back in like 82 or something like that. It's based on the 3 original Bourne trilogy books. The Richard Chamberlain show was a made-for-TV movie. It was like 3 one-hour episodes. And got my letter from Project Greenlight. Thank you, but we regret to inform we're not going with this idea. La 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 la. Fast forward a couple of years. What do you mean Matt Damon is playing Jason Bourne? The fuck? Wait, what? But
thank you for your $1 million idea.
It's been 20 plus years, so screw it. Now I do my own fan casted and all my own movie reviews. But one day we're gonna have a treatment written up, and it's gonna be by this production company. It's gonna make it to that big screen. But yeah, definitely not a Jason Bourne. Ballerina, June 7th. That's the John Wick spinoff. I'll go check it out just because it's John Wick. And Back to Black. I'm wondering that's going to be one of the biopics, and that is for Amy Winehouse. They've got a Bob Marley. What was that one called? There's a Bob Marley biopic coming out. I think that one's actually coming out pretty soon too.
Yeah, is it One Love?
One Love. Yeah, February 14th. And Kingsley Ben-Adir will be the iconic reggae artist.
I'm
Also
not a
from
biopic person as a general rule, but I saw a trailer and I will probably see it. It looked good.
Yeah, One Love actually seems really, really interesting. And what little I've seen about I like Amy Winehouse's music. And that's one of those like tragic, like cut short talent, and it I'd be interested in seeing if there's more to the story than what we've already TMZ'd. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Kind of like the way we got like Selena. You know what I'm saying? Stories like that, I'm a little more interested in. But like Walk the Line, I'm not an Elvis fan, so I didn't need this. Not that wasn't. Johnny Cash was Walk the Line, but the Elvis biopic, Tom Hanks, I had no interest to see that because I'm not an Elvis fan. Nothing against him.
Something against him.
I got a lot against him. That's why I didn't see it.
Well, nothing against the actors and such, but I'm again not a fan. Wasn't interested in seeing the movie. The list goes on and on. One of the biggest movies that's going to be upcoming isn't even a 2024 film. Superman Legacy is 2025. And as I'm looking at, when I kind of go through all the movies that are going to be coming up and everything, it's funny how all the most anticipated movies all kind of have like some fairly big names. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's highly anticipating unknowns, but there's been a lot of good movies who have been unknowns, and that might be the movie that makes their mark. That's where they blow up. They've had one or two. There's small roles here and there, but when I look at this casting for Superman Legacy,
I haven't even looked at it.
It is interesting.
I just don't know who any of them are.
I know 3 people in this casting. 4. And just at a glance, be like, oh yeah, that's that person. Oh yeah, that's that person.
Nicholas Hoult, I know him.
Nicholas Hoult, I'm very familiar with who he is.
Rachel Brosnahan, I've heard of her, but I ain't never watched nothing with her in it.
Right.
I don't watch Miss Maisel.
Nathan Fillion is the other name that immediately stands out to me as if he's like one of the biggest names on the cast.
I know who Skylar Gisondo is. He was in I just know him from
the comedy.
The what's the one?
National Lampoon?
No. Righteous Gemstones.
Oh.
He plays Danny McBride's oldest son.
Okay. I remembered him from Vacation. He's the son.
So I didn't see the new one.
That was like I reckon he just has a very distinctive face, and that's what I
Yeah.
remember him from. Um, huh. Okay. He's on. Okay. That I'd give him a little bit more credit then if he did Righteous Gemstones. That's pretty cool. Um, and I struggle with the name on this one, but Edie Gathingi.
Yeah.
Gathigi.
I know him from something, but I don't know exactly. Oh, he was Darwin.
There you go.
So justice for Darwin.
Right. And he gets to come back, and in this, he will be Mr. Terrific, which is hopefully an upgrade.
It seems early. I'm gonna say that for some of these names I'm seeing, but we don't know what the movie's gonna be about. We don't know what point in series in Superman's life this movie's coming in. So I'm not gonna be one of them people that's poo-pooing on the new DCU before anything actually rolls out. James
Right.
Gunn picked, what's his name? What's his name?
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. And
For
when you look at
Guardians.
Chris Pratt, when he picked him, that wasn't nobody who you was like, oh yeah, he should be the guy who like headlines this series of superheroes that nobody's ever heard of, because he was just the fat goofy dude from Parks and Rec. So obviously he's got some good ideas when it comes to casting, and he can bring things out of actors that they need to do to get the role done. He's the one who put John Cena in the Peacemaker role. My bad. I get confused just because of the weird opening intro of the song to the show. But
I hate this show so much.
Thank you. It's bizarro.
It is so weird.
So I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt. But before we even get there, it was a couple movies in 2024 that I saw on this list that obviously my computer does not want to refresh now that I'm talking about it, because technology was created to embarrass us. But not Madam Web. I'm interested in what this second phase of Dune is going to be like.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity. The first one I was like, but
it was so hard for me to get through the first one, and I can't be excited about the second one.
It seemed like a setup for the second one.
And Jason Momoa died, so
had nothing to keep you going.
Basically.
Yeah, Timothy Chalamet probably don't got enough meat on his bones for your taste.
Absolutely not. And I'm old enough to be his mother.
I didn't know who Timothy Chalamet was before Dune. So that was another one of those scenarios. And not to say that he hadn't done anything, he just hadn't done anything I was familiar with. And so,
Facts.
It was like Dune came out and I'm like, okay, so this is the guy now? Okay, cool. Let's see. And I, sat through the movie, and I feel like a lot of the movie for me was held by the supporting cast, so to speak. It was the Oscar Isaac. It was the Josh Brolin. It was Jason Momoa. It was Zendaya. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were the people that I was watching and interested in. Something just beeped. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Usually when I hear that sound, something unplugs. So I was like, oh crap.
Yeah. No, we can hear you. So another one that I was looking at that I'm interested in is Furiosa.
Yeah.
I'm curious about it though, because like we talk a lot about just like movie franchises and going back to the well too many times. And, we talk about that a lot with Star Wars, how they just could not let the Skywalkers go. We talk about that with, all these things where it's like, instead of just living in the world and showing us more of the world, you just think all we care about is this star, this person, this little small thing. And then you end up just pigeonholing yourself into a place where it's like,
just look, we
yeah,
stay in the box. Just don't move out
so
the
we don't need no
box.
pizza. They already got food there.
Mm.
But it's like, in reality,
sprinkler.
she liked all that dancing.
Right.
You
Like
know what
no
I'm saying?
sprinkler.
In reality, we
No
like
shopping.
finding out about some of these different characters. We liked meeting the Mandalorian and Grogu. We liked,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Some of us who were able to like look beyond our noses, like meeting Miss Marvel and all these other people, where we'd be able to expand the universe so that we could build on top of it. So I am interested in this more so because Furiosa was a dope character, and in my opinion, carried that Mad Max movie when they brought it back. That was the thing that made it interesting. Like in the first Mad Maxes, it was just like, all right, yeah, like obviously this is about Mad Max and we just following him. But it's like 30 years later and you rebooting this thing, like you can't just show us Mad Max again. Like you got to show us more. You got to show us more of what's going on. You got to show us how this world became this world. And you don't have to show us how this world became this world through Mad Max's eyes. Furiosa is an infinitely more interesting character, in my opinion. Now, I am curious about it not being played by Charlize Theron because she's a badass. I trust her when I see her. Yeah, I don't care. CGI, use all that young people CGI y'all be doing on everybody else unnecessarily and put it on her because I trust her in an action movie. I trust her in a movie about killing people and beating people up and getting chased and I trust her. Like if you show me Charlize Theron fighting people in a trailer, I'm gonna go see that movie because I know it's gonna be good. But you show me Anya Taylor-Joy, all I seen her do is play chess and eat hamburgers.
Get off the island.
So I'm curious in the story because the Mad Max world is a world that I think is fascinating and has a lot of untapped like potential. But now you putting it on the back of somebody who, like when we seen Tom Hardy, we already seen Tom Hardy. We saw Tom Hardy break Batman back. Yeah. So you put him in this world, okay, I'm with it. This person has like maybe, and I hope she does well. This is not me saying I don't think she can do it. All I'm saying is here's my trepidation. You can't take somebody and all I seen them do is play chess and eat hamburgers and tell me now she out in this dystopian world, a woman by herself in a world where women are being held captive as wives. Like we saw that in this original one. So
I'm gonna tell
she doesn't come across as that big to me. Like Charlize Theron, I don't know how big she is, but she seems like she has presence.
Lady.
She's
she stood next to Seth Rogen and didn't look tiny. So
yeah, she started out as a supermodel, you know, and that's back when they were all over 6 feet tall. So she's
right.
Tall.
I'm gonna tell you why the Furiosa movie can work even with Anya Taylor-Joy. One, people just know her name. Whether it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, you say that, but
work box office wise. Right. Is what you mean. Okay, right. Yeah, no. I get that for sure.
I mean, people
she's the girl of the moment.
And it could be people younger than you, whatever the case may be. But
unfortunately, that is the target demographic.
Exactly. There are but think about it. Jeff just mentioned he's like the only thing he's seen her do. Hell, we didn't talk about people. We didn't see nothing some of these people have done. But there's two movies. Say what?
Who?
No, I'm saying there's some movies like some of the stuff we've mentioned. We never seen these people do anything. We don't know these actors by name and the casting and whatnot. We picked out like literally went through the list and we picked out the ones that I like recognized or knew something about or that kind of thing. But if you go through this listing, I don't know who some of these actors are. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. It's like you see a lot of these big names, but where are the ones where it's the names you don't know? These people like Chris Pratt was big if you watch Parks and Rec, but he wasn't a movie star. He did Guardians of the Galaxy, and now Chris Pratt is the voice of everything. I don't know how that worked out, but you know what I'm saying? It's like now he's a movie star. You know what I'm saying? And so all it takes is one good role to like blow somebody up. Timothy Chalamet did Doom. Doom did well.
Timothy Chalamet was in an Oscar-nominated movie before Doom. We talked about this last weigh-in Wednesday, and I told you it was not up my alley, but it was a movie a lot of people who make movies saw, and they like him from that. So he ain't just come out of nowhere.
He may
He
not have
just
come out of
wasn't in no
nowhere.
movie that none of us saw. It wasn't up our alley.
Ergo,
Look up, Google called me by your name on your own
Right.
leisure. We won't be talking about it here.
we won't have to. But Anna Taylor-Joy, you know what I'm saying? I think the reason it's going to work for her, one, she has the namesake. She's got the like you said, she's Hollywood's it girl right now. And so they're banking the movie on her. When we saw Keanu Reeves become an action superstar in The Matrix, and then every action hero after that was a regular person, because it used to be, in order to be like the big action star, you had to be an action star. You had to be a Stallone. You had to be a Schwarzenegger. You had to be a Dolph Lundgren. Like, you know, because he's got a ton of action movies behind his belt. You know what I'm saying? He was the Punisher, for crying out loud. You know,
Yeah.
Red Scorpion. But now you have like Matt Damon is a international super spy who can kick everybody's ass. Matt Damon.
Yeah.
This is,
I think that's also from like kind of that James Bond thing as well, where it's like, now the thing that changed was James Bond used to just have a gadget and he would get in his car and drive off and sleep with your girl.
Now Daniel Craig came out here throwing hands,
yeah,
and all of a sudden it was like,
but that's because Matt Damon changed that profile where it was like, all right, brother, like you can't always squirt people with your watch and get out of trouble.
It was Keanu Reeves who first changed that when he did The Matrix, because seeing him and Lawrence Fishburne, when he says, you know, I know Kung Fu, and then they had that fight scene, movie theater lost their mind. And every movie that's come out after that, all of the action movies have that same element of regular guy, martial arts super, because you take Upgrade, you take Hardcore Henry. It became normal for regular people to be badasses.
And well, I think too that came with the like influx of, you know, the Jackie Chan and the Jet Li and all that, where it's like,
but we expected Jackie Chan and Jet Li to be the badasses they were, because they had that cinematic history doing that.
Keanu but Reeves we didn't. But here's this is what I was saying. This is what I'm saying. When they come in, when Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's first few movies that were released in America were movies that were made in Hong Kong. Same with Jet Li, right? Like they're just taking like Rumble in the Bronx was a movie that was made essentially like in New York, but for Hong Kong by a Hong Kong studio, released there, brought over here. Jackie Chan First Strike, that's a Hong Kong movie. Like, yeah. Then Hollywood was like, all right, they have the infrastructure, they have choreographers. Let's bring them over here and let's do some Jackie Chan, some Jet Li, some Chung Ho Fat movies in America. Let's work in some of these white actors. Okay, now we've got the choreographers. Jet Li even talked about this. He said that he had to turn I think he was supposed to be in The Matrix, but they wanted to like record and like store all of his movements in a computer. Yeah. As like AI to create their own choreography or something like that, and he was like, "No, like you're not about to use."
It was the second Matrix movie. There's the
Key Master.
Not even the Key Master. There's it's escaping me at the moment, but the guy that looks like he's supposed to be Jet Li, you can't miss him. That was supposed to be Jet Li's role.
Yeah, and so, but once they got those people over here that were doing the choreography for those movies, and they got them to the States and they got them to be able to do the choreography here, then you can make Keanu Reeves a badass, because you can teach him Kung Fu choreography as opposed to having to actually be a Kung Fu master like Bruce Lee, like Chung Ho Fat, like, you know, all those other people that were actually like Kung Fu, like they can actually like fight. I don't know. Maybe muscle memory will kick in and Keanu Reeves can do a couple things, but like Jackie Chan will like beat your ass for real.
Oh yeah, no question. I mean, like it's probably hard to spar with Jackie Chan unless you are on that level. Like you're not just jumping out there to play around. You definitely not doing that with Jet Li. These guys were like
I don't even want
not
to.
even like I was about to say
Accidentally
not
chop me.
superstars, but these guys were world champions as
Yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah,
So it is reflex,
yeah.
absolutely reflex. I think Denzel is bringing the regular badass action we get from Denzel is akin to what I credit Bruce Willis with. Um, the everyman hero. I mean, granted, you always
Minus
got
the
to have
jumping off stuff.
right.
Denzel said he ain't jumping off nothing.
He got to, you know what I'm saying? But it's like he always plays a very I won't say normal. Like, of course, you always got to have like the special ops background or whatever it is to explain and justify why these people can do the things that they do. And that's why people, I think, kind of like the larger than life John McClane because he's just a regular New York cop who shouldn't be able to do all of this, but he overcomes
Yeah,
the odds. And
like
that's
Liam Neeson and Taken and
right. You know what I'm saying?
Gray
When you
and every
have
other Liam Neeson movie.
Seraph, that was the guy's name. It was bothering me. I had to look it up. Yeah, and he specifically turned down the role of Seraph because he did not want his martial arts moves digitally recorded. This was
So
before the AI conversation. Jet Li was like, "No."
so when we were talking about before with like Anya Taylor-Joy, right? I look at her and I'm like, okay, Furiosa, right? I think Furiosa, the character, because of the impact that it had in that Mad Max film, is a bigger name than Anya Taylor-Joy. Now, I understand from the studio perspective where they're like, we got to have a name. Like, that's their perspective. I look at something like Tomb Raider, the latest Tomb Raider that came out, which was not terrible, wasn't great, but I really like Alicia Vikander in that role.
Yeah.
But then see, the question then becomes, okay, is Tomb Raider a knock on her because it didn't do well? And they're like, well, she can't carry a movie. Even though it's like, if you're going to get somebody who I mean, I want to, for me, I would say I would have a lot more trepidation handing an ass-kicking role to an actress who I've never seen kick nobody ass and nothing else before this. Okay. I get it. I get the name.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you.
That's on my only trepidation. Now, if she was playing one of the wives, like how Zoe Kravitz was playing, Anya Taylor-Joy showing up in that role, I get it. That makes sense. But like, to me, I feel like I'm looking at it like, all right, you better bring it then. Because I know what Charlize would have done in this role. So you not only channeling like it's kind of the same conversation we had about like Mr. Fantastic and characters coming into the MCU, right? Where it's like, now that we have this whole world that's built, there's already a silhouette kind of that certain people are expecting. And it's like that Japanese Tetris game where people stand on the platform and it's coming down. It's like, can you contort?
Remember Nickelodeon Hole in the Wall?
Yeah, no, that's what that's from.
You got to fit.
So it's like, can you fit this hole in the hole is in the wall? Yeah, like you're not the Kool-Aid man. You're not making a hole in the wall. You either gonna fit through the hole, or this hole is going to get pushed off the platform.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely understand the reservations you would have. And given that this is a Mad Max production, that this is not, say, a Marvel movie where we kind of know, or I won't even say a Marvel movie, but like, most action films, when they come out, you end up getting some leaked footage, behind the scenes training and whatnot, where they see, this is the stunt work we had to do today, and this is this. Yeah, until I see some of that, I can understand what you're saying. But it's also a very real thing that you can take these actors and actresses and let me say this carefully. I don't want nobody getting any feelings about it. As the elder geek, I feel it's safe to say you can get away with it a lot more with some of these younger actors and actresses.
Mm-hmm.
They can get out there and they're more likely to be able to recover. So they're more willing to jump out there and do some of this, and you can get a little bit more out of them. Charlize, she's been doing it long enough. She knows how to fall. She knows how to roll. She knows how to throw that punch. Because like I said, you go back to like Aeon Flux, she was doing it then, you know, and Atomic Blonde, that is a fantastic movie. And I would watch any other fight scene. Old Guard, come on, you know, so I'm definitely with it. But it is absolutely possible to take these actors and actresses, if they are willing and they put in the work, to give them these action roles, and they can jump out there. And I think Alicia Vikander did a fantastic job in Tomb Raider. She was a great Lara Croft. I like that Lara Croft more than I like the Angelina Jolie Lara Croft.
Yes.
But as a result, the Angelina Jolie movie ended up with the bigger budget, I'm sure. You know what I'm saying? Because she was a name that could get butts in the seat kind of thing.
But it's like then when you go and look at Alicia Vikander's like
IMDb.
her film, her IMDb, right? She got like big movies.
Yeah. But she's always got small parts.
She was the robot in Ex Machina.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely.
I feel you.
Like,
I feel you.
That one's kind of like, we didn't get to see any of the physicality in that. I mean, she did Deus Ex, Ex Machina.
Yeah, but we ain't seen her. We ain't seen Anya Taylor-Joy be physical either.
I am not disputing that.
So you can't use that as a strike.
I'm not using it as a strike. I'm saying as far as...
Or remember, the studio can't use that as a strike because you can't be like, well, we ain't seen her be physical in Ex Machina. It's like, bro, we saw her as Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is basically like Furiosa reincarnated into like modern times.
I would agree with that.
But I'm gonna see it.
I'm not disputing. I'm not saying that you are wrong for your trepidations. I'm not saying you're wrong for your hesitations. I'm simply saying that it is possible. The little poster that I've seen with her, like, okay, well, the makeup department did their job because she looked fierce. Let me say that. You know, and
man, I'll Photoshop some black tar on Alicia Vikander forehead right now.
Okay, so here you go, right here. Use this one. Do you think it would be more believable if they gave the role to Ronda Rousey? Please, God, no. Scarlett Johansson.
She can't act.
Also, no. I like Scarlett Johansson, but not for this.
Not a prequel either. It's like if you're gonna hire Scarlett Johansson, you may as well hire Charlize Theron and age her down. Because
I mean, in the last what was the Indiana Jones? That was a good de-aging they did. Like that one was kind of seamless. When you go back and you look at what they did with what was the other movie they de-aged somebody not too long ago, and it like you take this Star Wars one, Mandalorian, when they de-aged Mark Hamill, that was not the best job. Somebody hopped on YouTube like a couple days later and did a much better job. Oh God, we ain't gonna talk about what they did to Jeff Daniels and Tron Legacy. That was, but you know, given that was supposed to be computer generated, it could, you know, I just told myself that that's what his video game avatar looked like, and that it wasn't de-aging, and it made it okay in my head. But what they did in the last Indiana Jones movie, they did a really, really, really good de-aging of Harrison Ford. It was seamless. It was smooth. It looked good on film. Depending on how they're going to do this movie, if it's going to be a true prequel where these events take place and lead up to maybe her finding this town or getting wherever she ends up kind of thing, then we won't get that back and forth. So having, you know, having
a whole movie like that is budgetary constraints.
Right. And that's going to be a little restrictive on top of that. If they were just going to do a portion of the prequel and maybe continue her story sort of thing, you know, then that's completely different. So I get the recasting, if you will. I understand the concern. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot. And I'm a little less concerned about the physicality just because this is a very like everybody in this movie had to be physical. So as long as she knows what she signed on for, she get out there in that desert and run around. I think we could have a
But then
Furiosa.
it's like what I hope is it don't turn into like because she can't fight, she's just in the car the whole damn time. So but I reserve, I reserve the right to be wrong about it, and I hope I am wrong. Now, speaking of other casting things, and you got, you wearing the hat right now. We've skipped over this one. We haven't talked about it. Deadpool. Deadpool 3 is coming out. I have done my best to not see any of the spoilers and the different set photos that people are leaking out just because people can't help themselves and can't seem to, just wait for the movie.
Somehow I managed to get it out of my algorithm so it doesn't automatically show me everything Deadpool anymore.
But I really just look at this and I'm like, okay, the Marvel is in this MCU phase. It's very clear that Ryan Reynolds is the best option to play Deadpool. I agree with that. I don't want to see nobody else playing him. I'm not trying to recast him or anything like that. But everybody else who has been basically like confirmed, Hugh Jackman coming back to play Wolverine, Jennifer Garner apparently reprising her role as Elektra, even though we already technically have an Elektra in the MCU. If it's true that Daredevil, whatever. Okay,
that Echo makes Daredevil canon, etc.
Yeah. Echo and She-Hulk.
Yeah.
I just hope that this is the last time I see Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Old Man Logan was a great way to go out. Logan, sorry, it's not the name of the movie, but that's what it is. Logan was a great way for him to go out, for that character to go out. If this motherfucker end up being Wolverine in the MCU for good, I'm going to turn into one of them people that we don't like. That
superhero fatigue.
I have Wolverine fatigue.
It's time. It's time for a new Wolverine. Like, it's time. Like, I get it. Like, you're not about to and don't come in with no X-Men, the original class, with no, like, we don't care about that. We're not trying to see all of them. I don't want to see Angel with real wings. I don't want to see Beast that's not blue and hairy. I don't want to, like, let's stop playing games and give the people what they want, which is 90s cartoon X-Men. Which is what they're doing with this cartoon. Which is what they're doing with this costume, minus the sleeves. I don't know what that's about. But this got to be the last time, Hugh. It's got to be it.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be. Like, it's time, bruh. It is time. And that's all I got to say about Deadpool. Excited to see it, but that's it. Done.
Teresa, you got any thoughts on Deadpool making his crossover to the MCU and Hugh Jackman returning to Wolverine?
I mean, I'm anticipating it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Deadpool, I don't like comedy, remember? So Deadpool is not my favorite character. Ryan Reynolds is teetering on the edge of getting on my nerves too. So but I'm a Marvel girl and I'm ready for a good Marvel movie again. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. I like Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, but I get what you're saying, Jeffrey.
I like him too. But I liked him
time for him to sit down.
20 years ago, 23 years ago, 24 years ago when he first started playing the role, like 1999, cool. But again, we ain't found nobody yet. And to me, this is one of those where it's like, from what I have read, this seems to be like a Ryan Reynolds really, really wanted this type thing. And for him to not kick up no dust and make the merger weird with Fox and Deadpool and all that, it seems like they just was like, all right, bro. But
I don't
bruh,
deal well
we've
with
been waiting
change.
on.
So, I wouldn't, you recast the role, and that kind of hits me kind of hard. But I know what you're saying, but I'm looking forward to this Wolverine.
I feel like it's just like for those of us that have been waiting for the X-Men to finally be able to be a part of the MCU.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that too.
For you to bring me the same motherfucker from 1999.
But the same
is
motherfucker.
unacceptable.
That means, like I said, I don't deal well with change. So for me, he is Wolverine. So, but unless you're doing some,
but now you're gonna bring James Marsden and Femke Janssen and Halle Berry and everybody showing up.
I said he is Wolverine.
No,
I didn't say Halle Berry was Storm. I did not say that. So,
I mean, you don't want to see the toad pop, when it gets struck by lightning. This is this is how this should work, and I really truly hope that this is just and mark your calendars. I said it today. I really hope this is Ryan Reynolds just going out of his way to troll, because the whole concept. Well, let me not say that because I'm not sitting in on the meeting, so I don't know for sure what the concept is. But this is supposed to be how we're getting Deadpool into the MCU and basically how we are merging what exists over here with Fox into the MCU. Now, if we take the end of Deadpool 2, where he's got his little time device, and he's jumping back and forth through time. He goes back, and what do we see? We see a scene there where he goes over, takes out the other Wade Wilson, right? He hopped a universe there, takes out the other Wade Wilson. Boom, boom, boom. Sorry, boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. He took out the Green Lantern because, of course, so he can hop doing all this back and forth. So if that technology was there in the movie, and even if it's played up for laughs and fourth wall breaking and, Deadpool being Deadpool, there's a chance that he can cherry pick and create all of the characters we need to bring them over into the MCU.
Yeah. Which is what I fear he's doing.
And wait. And what they're showing us for Hugh Jackman, and they did the big announcement on YouTube, and all these people are so excited because Hugh Jackman may have like 10 minutes of screen time.
A scene, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He may have 10 minutes of screen time where he jumps into that universe, gets into it, they talk, walk off, and then he makes some joke about how all of those movies aren't even canonically tied to one another. All of Wolverine's movies aren't connected the way they, this stuff branch out a little bit, because technically Logan, you know what I'm saying? It's almost like the events that take place in Logan this didn't happen in the same universe as Days of Future Past. You know what I'm saying? Like, these were obviously separate universes. So it could be a situation where all of the different Wolverines we've seen have been variants of one another, so to speak. It just happened that they all looked very similar. And it could just be getting us set up and prepared. You let this Wolverine die. You let Hugh Jackman's Wolverine die or walk off into the sunset. He gets his happy ending. He did his friend a favor. Seats are going to sell out because you got Wolverine and Deadpool together.
And
but the more times you do
kind of twist.
I was like, but it's like a 10-minute scene. It's a cameo.
But here's my thing. The more times you do it, the harder it's going to be to put the new person in the role. We know how MCU quote unquote fans are.
Yeah.
We know how this is. It's like part of the whole thing with recasting is we let a little time pass and then we bring in the new person. Like you don't just end like the reason they got Superman coming out the following year is just so people have enough time to get over Henry Cavill. And
they won't. They still won't. But no, but I get what you're saying.
But enough time to where it's like, all right, like he ain't coming back. You know what I'm saying? It's like when your dad go for cigarettes. Like after a couple weeks, he's like, he ain't coming back. Like you went to y'all been to the gas station. There's plenty of cigarettes. Your daddy not there. He not coming back. Like
we got milk in the kitchen.
And I feel like what they've done with Wolverine every single time is put him in one of those little roles in X-Men First Class. The scene where they're recruiting and they walk up to him at the bar. He says F off. And yeah. Then there's the scene in the whole Weapon X facility scene in the last one where he's like in the snow and makes weird eye contact with the teenage Jean Grey. Like they keep inserting him. They changed the whole plot of Days of Future Past to be just about him, even though the comic book is actually about Kitty Pryde. And there's a whole Kitty Pryde version out there. And some studio executive was like, nah, this guy has got to be Hugh Jackman because bankability. So that's the only reason why I'm concerned. They just can't seem to quit this dude in this role. And I fear I feel like, are you doing the next actor a disservice?
Absolutely.
Putting him in a position where he's not going to be accepted because you still have the fresh taste of Hugh Jackman next to Deadpool. So now when Deadpool show up and this new Wolverine motherfucker show up, Ryan Reynolds going to crack a couple jokes about it, but people going to be sitting in there arms crossed. And it's like, bruh, I get Wolverine don't age, but Hugh Jackman does. It's been 24 years, 1999 he started, 25 years at this point. Like, can we please move on?
I am hopeful that it will be a very official passing of the torch from Hugh Jackman to whoever. And I'm really hopeful that we will see more than one Wolverine in this Deadpool movie to make the transition less painful. Because Hugh Jackman is going to be there saying, this is the new Wolverine.
I'm too old for this shit.
You know what I'm saying? Because that's why you bring Chris Rock on Lethal Weapon, because Murtaugh need to retire. So you got to have somebody to fill Murtaugh's shoes. So now you got Murtaugh's son-in-law coming in. You know?
Yeah, except I hope they get a better actor than Chris Rock.
Yeah. That was, I never even saw, what was it? Spiral. I didn't see Spiral because it was Chris Rock. I was like, I don't care. First of all, it's a Saw movie, but then it's like Chris Rock is a cop in a thriller. Yeah, nah, you lost me with that. But that reminds me, I'm actually going to be doing, I've already picked out the next movie for Why Did I Watch That? And it's Martin Lawrence as a police detective in a movie very similar to the likes of Seven or Silence of the Lambs. More details on that coming up. Teresa, were there any other movies that you wanted to bring up, that you wanted to mention? Did you have a chance? Anything catch your eye, mind, or you thought about? Because, there's still Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Bad Boys 4. Just talking about Martin Lawrence.
I'll see Bad Boys 4 just because, it's Bad Boys, and that's my era. But I scrolled through the list, and it might just be because my memory is bad, but I don't remember anything jumping out.
I would say for me, there's only one other movie that I can say honestly I'm interested in. And I'm interested, you know what? And I feel bad because I'm going to see it and I don't have the highest hopes for it. But Beverly Hills Cop Axel F.
Yeah,
Same.
it's a Netflix or Prime, isn't
Yeah.
it? Okay.
I want to say that one is coming. That's direct to Netflix. Um, but of course, it's like it makes me think of the Coming to America, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like it had the chance, but it just wasn't. It like
It was
wasn't
too.
bad.
It did the thing we talked about where it was too like invested in
Trying to
telling,
recapture.
rehashing the jokes and capturing that magic as opposed to just being like, let's just move on to the next generation.
Here's the characters that we already know that are already pretty well established from the movie they made before, so we don't have to go and have all the Easter eggs and callbacks. Allow people to, it should, what you should do in a situation like that, mind you, this is my opinion, but I believe what you should do in a situation like that is you should simply remind us of the character and remind us why we like that character, but it doesn't have to be every time they open their mouth. Every time they say something, they don't have to reference something from the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
what should happen at the end of it is you should feel like everything you heard was funny, but you didn't know what that meant, and you didn't know what that meant. You didn't know what that meant. You know what? I want to go watch Coming to America because I want to get. You should have the Easter eggs set up in a way that they drive people back to the original movie to revisit that. Give enough to familiarize us with it, remind us why we like this character. Why did we like Simi? Because he was a little horny toad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Now he's like I wanted to see him married to the flower girl. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
but Axel F, I'm still looking forward to it because it's like we still trying to do the Beverly Hills Cop thing, and I don't. When I saw Candy Cane Lane, it gave me a little hope because I felt like that was kind of a return to form Eddie Murphy. The way
Mm-hmm.
his delivery came out, some of his jokes, his speech pattern came back to what I remembered that I liked. I think the last time I got that from him was Daddy Daycare. You know what I'm saying? Because he had some
Yeah.
misses in between that, 1,000 Words and this few other movies. They were just kind of all over the place. But this one, um, I need Axel Foley to be Axel Foley if we're gonna do another Beverly Hills Cop.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if the same jokes that would have worked in the first two movies are gonna work this go round. Are we gonna update Axel Foley for the 2020s? Because I don't know that Axel Foley can get away with what he was doing before, and that may not work. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's got me a little concerned.
I'll see that one. And I'm scrolling the list real quick. And this must be the year of the movie adaptation of the musical because it looks like their Wicked is supposed to be coming out in November.
I
I
saw
will
that.
I will
I will be
definitely see
there.
that because I loved Wicked.
I did. I liked Wicked. Wait, no. What's the movie before that?
The Wizard
Oh,
of
the Great and
Oz.
Powerful Oz.
Great and Powerful Oz. I like that movie. And then Wicked was the musical that was made with the same premise.
You mean the Wizard
Uh,
of Oz?
no, the Great and
No, no, no.
Powerful Oz with great James Franco, Michelle
I
Williams.
didn't see that.
It's it was all right. It was kind of like it was like a Wizard of Oz prequel about
Okay.
how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch essentially. But Wicked is kind of like that as well, but it kind of gives the backstory on how like the Scarecrow becomes a Scarecrow. It's basically like the backstory of all the
All the side players.
Wizard of Oz characters before
Wicked is
Dorothy comes to Oz.
Gotcha. How Oz became Oz.
Wicked is really it's Elphaba's story, the witch.
Yeah, it's about the witch,
Yeah.
Okay.
but everybody is like becomes a part of it, and eventually
Yeah.
you see how like you don't know who these people become, but then it's like something happens, and then they become the Tin Man. They was
Right.
like a regular person at first.
And she stole his heart. Ha 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 ha. Now
Yeah.
he's the Tin Man.
I mean, essentially.
Gotcha. No, I mean, I
Yeah, I
you
saw. I
said that, and I was
saw.
like, okay,
Yeah, me
got it.
and some friends of mine saw that in LA. It was very good. I definitely recommend seeing the play if it's like available in your hometown.
Hmm.
I don't know how I feel about Borderlands, which is a video game adaptation. Um,
I don't
it's
even know
got
what that is.
yeah, I mean, it's got Kate Blanchett, Kevin Hart, Jack Black, Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm good with two of. I like Jack Black and Jamie Lee Curtis for the movie. I don't know how I feel about Kevin Hart for the movie, and Kate Blanchett. I don't know. Like, I just it seems weird. Um, our visitor today is asking about Spaceman with Adam Sandler. Didn't know about it. Not a huge Adam fan. I'm not gonna say no. It depends. Probably not a
I'll probably
theater
watch
movie
it
for
at
me though.
home.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah, that's what I was
I'll
about to
be honest
say.
and say Adam Sandler is not a theater goer for me. Like, but he's also done well to put his stuff directly on Netflix, and so like
This is what I'm
what
gonna
is it?
say. Adam Sandler, do more serious stuff. I liked you
Yes,
in
I
Spanglish.
agree. Spanglish
yeah.
was
Like,
awesome.
Actually,
and I
the
mean, I feel like I'm one of the few people who like Grown Ups because it was stupid and I recognize it for what it was. But
no, I like Grown Ups and Grown Ups too. Both of those were good. They were, you know what? They were
they were
funny.
funny.
That's what it was. I'm not gonna say they were good. They were funny, but they were comedy, so I felt like they were supposed to be. Um, and oh, there you go, Jeff. The Blackening 2.
Definitely will see it. Probably not in theaters because I don't watch scary stuff in theaters. I need lights on and daytime. So
Right. I just need to be not around other people if I'm gonna be scared about stuff. Um, anybody gonna see me scared? That ain't happening. Yeah, I mean, like I said, nothing that was on these lists just like stood. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait. There's one or two that seem interesting and definitely caught my attention. Don't know how I feel about Inside Out 2. I like the first one. Eh, you know, it'll get watched eventually, as I pretty much watch all cartoon movies at some point.
yeah,
So it'll get watched. It's just like, are me and the wife going out to see Inside Out 2? Don't know. The
Eh,
Garfield movie, no interest.
None.
Um,
none.
A Quiet Place, day one.
No.
I haven't seen the other ones.
I'm interested. Well, this one has, and not that this should be your selling point. This one has Lupita Nyong'o in it, and this one, if this is day one, this is going to be like the prequel of the invasion of the weird creatures. So that's interesting. Despicable Me 4, that one could possibly, grab the nieces and nephews. Maybe we make a Uncle Day or something. I could use that as my excuse to go see Despicable Me.
I'll stream it somewhere.
Same.
Yeah. Beetlejuice
Peacock.
2. Right, because I'm sure that's where to be. Beetlejuice 2. Ugh. That movie came out in 1988, and now we're about to do a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah,
not
it feels
the
like
biggest
trying to
Beetlejuice
get. It feels like trying to holler at that girl who wrote that message in your yearbook at the 20-year reunion. It's like, dog,
Hey,
she
remember
has
that
moved
thing
on.
you put? Remember what you had said? Yeah.
Like you
don't do
wrote,
that.
like if I was older, I could have been your man. I'm old, dog. She was
But
being
see,
nice.
what's the selling point for this one, of course, is that it has Jenna Ortega, who just killed it as Wednesday. So if she's gonna be Lydia's daughter, like, um,
Look, Michael Keaton is a great actor, but he can do better than reprising 80s roles. Hollywood deserves better than that from Hollywood. After what he done for Hollywood, after the movies that he did change the industry, we can do better for him than you want to play this same motherfucker you played 50 years ago.
Come on, let's get nuts. Okay. We also have Gladiator 2, Joker, Folie Deux. Didn't need the first one, don't need the second one. but it'll get
Don't
watched,
need none of them.
and there'll be somebody that's
I
gonna love
won't
it.
watch it.
Be Halloween costumes.
Right.
That's not
Oh,
off-putting.
Mufasa, the Lion King, the
I
origin
won't
of
watch that
Simba's
either.
father.
No.
I don't know
No,
why that's a movie.
no.
I don't know why that's a thing, but that is a thing. So yeah. And the only other thing that was on the list that like stuck out for me on that one was Gladiator 2, but like Ridley Scott still trying to make that movie? Come on, bro. Let it go.
The
Yeah.
rule should be if you win an Oscar for Best Picture, you shouldn't make no sequel.
You know what? I'm good with that. I think that makes sense. That makes sense.
Who won an Oscar?
Ridley Scott.
Gladiator.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That was a good movie, but I have no interest in seeing the two.
Here's
But you ain't
another.
even got to call it Gladiator 2. Just make another movie about a gladiator and call it something else. It ain't going to be Gladiator 2. It ain't going to be Russell Crowe. Spoiler alert for anybody who didn't see Gladiator 20-something years ago when it came out.
Yeah, that's a little off on that one. And then Nosferatu, Christmas. Bill Skarsgård, the guy that played Pennywise from It, will be now playing Count Orlok, who was the original vampire in the old Boris Karloff film Nosferatu. That's a vampire, so that's a little different than horror for me. Like horror movies, I'm with you, Jeff. I don't really do the horror like that. But vampires, I don't know. It's a little
Vampire
different.
Christmas.
As long as
Yep,
if it's in
Vampire
Brooklyn,
Christmas.
I'm there.
That works. Get your Kadeem Hardison sidekick, taxi driver. Okay, folks, that is all of the 2020. Well, not all, but that is a lot of 2024 movies to talk about, and we got a lot of time between now and Superman Legacy, so we'll get around to. And I'll try to find out a little bit more about who these people are and what they've done, because I don't even know who the main guy is. David Cornsweet. Cornsweet.
Corn
like
sweat.
Corin Sweat. Right, you got to look it up to make sure I'm pronouncing it right. Corin Sweat. That's what it said. David Corin Sweat. He got the face. He got the jaw. I'm with it. Okay, cool. I don't know anything else because I haven't seen any of the stuff that he was in. So,
but that's good.
It is,
in my opinion.
And so, well, I mean, I brought that up when we were talking about the people who didn't have the names like that. But he's, some of the stuff that's on here, like he's been doing stuff for a while. Just not like I don't even recognize any of these names as standing out. The only one that comes to mind is Pearl, because that one seemed a little odd, and I kind of wanted to check that movie out. That's a horror movie. Did you see that one by chance? No? Okay.
Nope.
So see, other than that, I don't know anything that he's done. But he graduated Juilliard, so hey.
Bully for him.
Right. We'll hopefully that makes him be a better Superman and Clark Kent, right? So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, that was a pretty good selection. I think we hit the highlights. We definitely hit the ones we were interested in. We had some good conversation surrounding all of that. And I think we hit all the topics that we wanted to hit. We definitely talked about how casting affects some of the choices in viewership and in movie roles, because I think Furiosa is. Because I think what it's going to come down to, if she goes out there and she gets physical and does the action, it could go really, really well. If they just rely on the fact that she was a name, the movie could bomb, and it'll be their fault for just going with the name and not getting someone who could be physical for the role. Maybe we'll come back and we'll recast some of these things later. Find better casting for some of these choices. We got to figure out who some of these people are first. But Be sure to click that QR code there in the corner. If you haven't done it already, don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video. Let other people know that we're here. Tell them about the group. Feel free to join. And once you're in, you can bring your friends along. We've had a great time tonight. I want to thank our guests for whoever that was hanging out with us tonight on Twitch. Geez, Dr. Foev. Hey, appreciate you being in. Thanks so much. Enjoyed the conversation. Be sure to join us next time. We won't be live next week, but feel free to look for some videos that are going to be popping up here soon. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. We appreciate everybody who's had a chance to watch this video and everybody who's going to watch this video. We thank you, and we will see you next time. But for now, for Teresa, Jeff, and myself, we are out of here. Peace.